I, Ethan Caldwell, turned 45 feeling like I was standing at a crossroads in life. As the project executive director at Caldwell Technologies, an artificial intelligence and cybersecurity company founded by my father, William Caldwell, I had spent nearly 2 decades working in his shadow. The company, worth 150 million USD, was an empire my father built from an idea in a garage in Palo Alto, California. I was proud, but also under pressure. This birthday, I never expected to receive a gift that would change my life. The party was held at my father's mansion in Los Altos Hills, a place that always felt both familiar and distant. The sprawling house, with its expansive garden twinkling under lights, was decorated like a high society event. Ancient oak trees surrounded the pool, where a jazz band played soft melodies. Guests included company executives, investors from Silicon Valley, and close family. I stood there, in a suit carefully chosen by my wife Sophia, feeling everyone's eyes on me. Sophia, with her perfect smile and striking red silk dress, always knew how to draw attention. She held my hand whispering, "You look great, Ethan." But in her eyes I caught a fleeting, puzzling glint, not joy, but calculation. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest video. Beside me was Lily, my 16-year-old daughter, with curly, bouncy hair and the quiet demeanor of a teenager sulking about something. Noah, my 13-year-old son, was the opposite, always radiant, running around asking guests about AI technology. My father, William, 70 but still commanding, stood in the garden, raising a glass of wine, capturing every gaze. He wore a finely tailored gray suit, his silver hair gleaming under the lights. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my son Ethan's birthday," he said, his voice resonant, as powerful as when he addressed the board. I smiled, thinking it was just an ordinary party. But then my father looked straight at me, his eyes shining with pride and a hint of mischief. "Today is not just Ethan's birthday," he continued, "but also a special day for Caldwell Technologies." The crowd fell silent, curious. My heart beat faster. After nearly 40 years building this company, I've decided it's time to step back. I'm transferring ownership in the CEO position of Caldwell Technologies to Ethan, effective immediately. The garden erupted with whispers and applause. I stood frozen, my mind blank. 150 million USD, hundreds of employees and countless contracts with major corporations, now all on my shoulders. I looked at my father, searching for answers in his eyes, but he just winked as if this had been his plan all along. Sophia squeezed my hand, but her smile felt forced. "That's wonderful, darling," she said, her voice light as a breeze, but I sensed tension in every word. Lily looked at me with doubt, as if she didn't believe I could handle this responsibility. Noah cheered, "Dad, I knew you could do it." His innocence made me chuckle, but inside I was rattled. I'd worked at Caldwell Technologies since graduating college, leading AI security projects, but always as an executor, not a leader. My father once said, "Ethan, you have your mother's mind and my perseverance." That's a powerful combination. But now, facing dozens of eyes from executives like Claire Noen, our CTO, and Mark Thompson, our CFO, I wondered if I was truly ready. As the party continued, I pulled my father to a corner of the garden, where the scent of jasmine mingled with the cool air. "Dad, why me? Why now?" I asked, my voice trembling. He placed a hand on my shoulder, his gaze stern yet warm. "Ethan, you've been by my side through the company's ups and downs. You understand its value, not just in money but in its mission to bring technology that changes lives. I believe you'll take it further than I ever could." Sophia approached, hugging me in front of everyone. "We'll do great things together, won't we?" she said sweetly. But as her eyes flicked to my father, I saw a cold glint pass through them. I entered my first week as CEO of Caldwell Technologies, feeling like a soldier thrust into battle without a map. The company headquarters in Palo Alto, with its gleaming glass walls and screens displaying AI data, was now my stage. But before I could settle into the leather chair in the CEO's office, Sophia began to act. My wife, who always knew how to appear at the right moment with a perfect smile, now made me feel like I was walking through a minefield. It started at a strategy meeting on Tuesday, when I was discussing the launch of a new AI security product with Claire Nguyen, our CTO. Sophia walked into the boardroom, unannounced, wearing an elegant suit, her hair neatly up, exuding the confidence of an executive. "I just want to offer some input," she said, sitting next to Ryan Pierce, a newly appointed board member. The other executives exchanged glances, while I tried to stay calm. "Sophia, this is an internal meeting," I said, my voice gentle but firm. She smiled, as if I'd told a joke. "Ethan, you're the new CEO, and I'm your wife. I want to help you succeed." Her words sounded sweet, but I couldn't ignore Ryan Pierce's nod, as if they were already acquainted. After the meeting, Claire pulled me aside in the hallway, her voice low. Ethan, Sophia just asked me to send her confidential reports on the latest AI project. I refused, but she called herself the Caldwell family strategic advisor. What's going on? I shook my head, unease rising. Sophia had never deeply involved herself in the company before. She'd been a marketing director at a small tech firm in San Francisco, but after Noah was born, she switched to freelance consulting. Why was she suddenly so interested in Caldwell Technologies? At our modern home in Menlo Park, with large windows overlooking an apple orchard, the atmosphere grew tenser. Lily, my daughter, had become distant lately, always glued to her phone. When I asked about school, she answered curtly, "Mom said you don't need to worry, since you're so busy." Noah was different. He dragged me to his room, excitedly talking about an AI app he was trying to code. "Dad, I want to work at our company when I grow up," he said, his eyes sparkling. I ruffled his hair, but my heart was heavy. What was Sophia doing with Lily? A few days later, at a company event at the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco, Sophia showed up again, introducing herself as the Caldwell family representative. She shook hands with investors, chatted with partner executives, and even mentioned a restructuring plan I'd never heard of. A veteran employee, Mark Thompson, our CFO, texted me after the event. "Ethan, Sophia requested internal financial reports. I said they had to go through you, but she wasn't pleased." That night at home, I confronted Sophia. She was in the kitchen, brewing coffee, the chandelier's light illuminating her flawless face. "Sophia, what are you doing?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "I see you at the company, requesting reports, calling yourself an advisor. What's this about?" She turned, smiling as if I were a naive child. "Ethan, you're new to being CEO, the pressure's immense. I just want to help. You can't do everything alone." Her words were smooth, but I sensed their falseness. "Help by requesting confidential reports?" I pressed. Her smile stiffened. "You don't trust me? I'm your wife, Ethan. I want our family to succeed." I didn't know how to respond. 18 years of marriage, and I'd always believed Sophia was my partner, even if she was sometimes more ambitious than I preferred. But now, her gaze sent chills down my spine. The following days, I felt like I was walking a tightrope between doubt and trust. Sophia kept showing up at Caldwell Technologies, each time with a more confident smile, as if she already owned the boardroom. She started joining client calls, emailing executives as the Caldwell family strategic advisor, and even tried to alter the schedule of AI projects I was overseeing. I received worried looks from Claire Nguyen, our CTO, and Mark Thompson, our CFO, but no one dared openly challenge Sophia. Deep down, I knew I had to act, but I needed proof. And I needed my father, William. I drove to my father's mansion in Los Altos Hills one evening, as the sunset painted the Santa Cruz Mountains gold. His private study with oak bookshelves and large windows overlooking the valley was always a place of solace. My father sat behind his desk, sharp eyes beneath silver hair, holding a black coffee. "You look tired, Ethan," he said, his voice deep but caring. I sighed, sinking into the leather chair across from him. "Sophia's crossing lines, Dad. She's acting like the company is hers. I don't know what to do." He raised an eyebrow, setting his coffee down. "You suspect her, don't you? Good. Your instincts are right." He stood, walked to a safe hidden behind a painting, and pulled out a thick folder and a USB. "I've suspected Sophia since she started asking about company finances, right after you two married. I hired a private investigation team to watch her." I was stunned, not expecting him to go that far. He slid the folder across the desk, his voice stern. "This is what they found. Sophia met Victor Hayes, CEO of NexGen Systems, our biggest competitor, at least 3 times this past month. There are photos and recordings." I opened the folder, my heart pounding. Photos showed Sophia in a San Francisco bar, sitting across from Victor Hayes, a tall man with a sharp smile. In one recording, Sophia's voice was clear. "Caldwell Technologies has a new AI security project. I can provide details, but I want a board position at NexGen when this is done." My blood boiled. My wife, who'd been by my side for 18 years, was plotting to betray the company my father spent his life building. "But why, Dad?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What does she want?" He looked at me, his eyes both sad and resolute. "Power, Ethan, and money. Sophia's always been restless in your shadow. She wants to lead, not follow." He paused, then continued. "But I prepared for this. When I transferred the company, I included a protective clause in the agreement." He pointed to a page marked Clause 23B. It stated that for the first year, any transaction over $10,000 USD, executive appointments or dismissals, and company restructuring required written consent from both me and him. "Sophia can sit in your office, but she can't do anything significant without our signatures," he said, a slight smile on his lips. I felt a spark of hope, but still worried. "But she's swayed Ryan Pierce and some board members. She's making people doubt me." My father nodded, as if this was expected. "I've spoken to Claire and Mark. They're loyal to you and our family. They'll monitor Sophia's every move and document it all. But you need to be stronger, Ethan. This isn't just about the company. It's a test to prove you're worthy of this legacy. I nodded, but my mind was still in turmoil. Back at our home in Menlo Park, I couldn't sleep. The image of Sophia laughing with Victor Hayes haunted me. But what hurt most was Lily. She was growing more distant, always defending her mother and looking at me with suspicion. One night, as I checked emails in the living room, Noah slipped in, his eyes bright. "Dad, I overheard Mom on the phone yesterday," the boy whispered. "She mentioned someone named Victor and said something about a big plan. I didn't understand, but I thought you should know." I hugged Noah, feeling both grateful and anxious. He was the only light in this storm. The next morning I met Claire and Mark at a cafe in Palo Alto, away from prying eyes at the company. Claire, with her short hair and sharp eyes, showed me the system logs. Sophia tried accessing the database for the latest AI project. We blocked her, but she's digging deeper. Mark added, "She asked me about transferring money to an offshore account. I said it needed your signature, but she didn't back down." I gripped my coffee cup tightly, feeling like the walls were closing in around me. In the days following my conversation with Dad, I lived in a state of constant tension. Every time I stepped into Caldwell Technologies headquarters in Palo Alto, I felt the eyes of employees, from young engineers to veteran executives, as if they were judging me. Sophia didn't slow down. She kept showing up at meetings, emailing clients as the Caldwell family representative, and even demanded changes to the launch schedule for the AI security product I'd spent a year preparing. I knew she was trying to seize control, but what hurt most was how she pulled Lily, my daughter, into this mess. Everything exploded one afternoon in the office, while I was reviewing financial reports with Mark Thompson. Sophia walked in without knocking, followed by Ryan Pierce, the board member she'd swayed. Ryan, with his slick-back hair and expensive suit, always carried the smugness of someone who thought he held all the cards. "Ethan, we need to talk," Sophia said, her voice sweet but icy. She sat in the chair across from me as if it were her office. "About what?" I asked, keeping my voice calm, though my blood was boiling. Sophia exchanged a glance with Ryan, then said, "The board has concerns about your leadership ability. You've never been a CEO, Ethan. A $150 million company can't be entrusted to someone inexperienced." Her words cut like a knife. Ryan nodded, chiming in, "We propose Sophia take on the role of interim CEO while you learn the ropes. It's for the company's benefit." I stared at them, feeling the floor drop out from under me. "The board?" I asked, my voice hardening. "We're just the two of you." Sophia smiled, but her eyes were calculating. "Ethan, don't complicate things. We're just trying to help you avoid mistakes." I clenched my fists under the table, fighting to keep my anger in check. "Sophia, this company belongs to my father, and he chose me. No one has the right to change that." Ryan shrugged, as if I were a stubborn child. "We'll bring this to the board meeting. You should think carefully." They left, leaving me with a deep sense of betrayal. That night, at our home in Menlo Park, I confronted Sophia. She stood in the living room, light from the large windows illuminating her silk dress. "Sophia, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Are you trying to take my company?" She turned, her gaze cold. "Ethan, you don't understand the pressure of running an empire. I'm just trying to protect our family." I stepped closer, searching for a trace of the wife I once loved. Protect it by convincing the board I'm incompetent? By turning Lily against me? At Lily's name, Sophia smirked. "Lily understands I'm doing the right thing. She doesn't want her father to destroy her grandfather's legacy." Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. I turned to Lily, who had just entered the room, phone in hand. "Lily, do you really believe Mom?" I asked, my voice hoarse. She looked at me, her eyes wavering between anger and confusion. "Dad, Mom says you're just making things worse. She says she can save the company." My heart shattered. My daughter, once my light, now stood with her mother. I tried to say more, but Sophia cut me off. "Ethan, if you don't cooperate, you'll lose everything. The company, the family, even this house. I'm your wife and I have rights here." Her threat stunned me. "You're kicking me out of my own home?" I asked, incredulous. Sophia shrugged, her voice soft but venomous. "If you don't agree to let me run the company, then yes, you should leave." Lily bowed her head, silent, and I felt my world collapse. I left the house, driving to my father's mansion in Los Altos Hills, my heart heavy. When I walked in, he was sitting in the study, the desk lamp casting light on his silver hair. "You look like you just lost a battle," he said, his voice deep. I told him everything, Sophia, Ryan, and Lily. He listened without interrupting, but his eyes grew colder. When I finished, he stood, walking to the window overlooking the twinkling Silicon Valley. "Ethan, do you know I once faced a traitor?" he asked. 30 years ago, a trusted partner tried to sell the company to a rival. I won because I knew how to play the game. He turned back, his voice low. "Sophia and Ryan think they're clever, but they don't know I've been prepared for this. You're not kicked out. You'll stay in my guest house tonight." Tomorrow we execute Plan B. I frowned. What's Plan B, Dad? He smiled. A cold smile I'd seen when he faced business rivals. You'll see. Sophia made a big mistake challenging the Caldwells. I woke up in my father's guest house in Los Altos Hills, early sunlight filtering through the windows, illuminating the walnut floor. The spacious house with modern furnishings and a view of the apple orchard should have felt peaceful, but my mind was a tangled mess. I met my father in the mansion's dining room. He was already in his black suit, the battle attire employees spoke of with reverence. On the table were a new folder, a laptop, and a steaming coffee. Today we begin, Ethan, he said, his voice deep but resolute. He pushed the folder toward me. Sophia thinks she's in control, but she doesn't know we've been ready for this. These are your weapons. I opened the folder, my heart racing. Inside were more findings from the private investigators. Emails Sophia sent to Victor Hayes, CEO of NexGen Systems, promising data from our new AI security project for millions. Photos of her meeting Hayes at a San Jose hotel, and most damning, a recording. In it, Sophia's voice was cold. Ethan isn't fit to lead. I'll make sure the board removes him. Then NexGen can buy Caldwell for cheap. I gripped the table's edge, betrayal cutting like a knife into my chest. But how do we use this? I asked, my voice hoarse. My father smiled, his eyes sharp like a seasoned strategist. Have you forgotten Clause 23B? Sophia can't do anything major. Transfer funds, restructure, or sell the company without our signatures. She can play act in the boardroom, but the real power is here. He pointed at me, then himself. Plus, I've prepared a loyal team. Claire Nguyen and Mark Thompson have been tracking Sophia's moves since she started meddling. They have more evidence. He continued. Claire planted fake documents in the data system Sophia accessed. If she tries selling them to NexGen, they'll sink millions into useless information. That's our trap. I couldn't help but admire my father's cunning. He hadn't just anticipated Sophia's plot. He'd turned her into a pawn in his game. We went to the office of Olivia Bennett, our lawyer in San Jose. A middle-aged woman with piercing eyes and an authoritative voice. Olivia, Caldwell Technologies legal counsel for over 20 years, had helped my father through many crises. Ethan, William, she greeted us, opening her laptop. I've reviewed the evidence. It's enough to expose Sophia to the board. But we need a stage. The urgent meeting Ryan Pierce is pushing for will be perfect. Olivia outlined the plan. Present the evidence at the meeting. Demand the board vote to confirm me as CEO and remove Sophia from any role in the company. But one thing still gnawed at me. Lily. She'd been manipulated by Sophia, believing her mother was saving the company. If I exposed Sophia without Lily on my side, I feared losing her forever. I decided to meet Lily, knowing it was a gamble. I asked her to meet at a Palo Alto cafe where we used to have weekend breakfasts when she was little. She arrived in a hoodie, her eyes avoiding mine. What do you want, Dad? She asked curtly. Lily, I know Mom said I'm not fit to lead, I began gently, but she's hurting the company and our family. I told her about Sophia's meetings with NexGen, her plan to sell AI data. Lily frowned, shaking her head. Mom said you're making this up to hold on to power. I sighed, pulling out my phone to play a recording of Sophia talking to Victor Hayes. Lily's face paled. Is that really Mom? She whispered, her eyes welling up. Lily, I don't want you to choose between me and Mom, I said, holding her hand. But I need you to know the truth. This company is your grandfather's legacy, and I'm trying to protect it for you and Noah. Lily was silent for a moment, then nodded. I'll think about it, Dad, but I need time. I nodded, knowing I'd planted a seed of hope. The fateful morning came faster than I expected. Today was the urgent board meeting at Caldwell Technologies headquarters in Palo Alto, where Sophia and Ryan Pierce planned to oust me. But with my father's Plan B, I had the weapons to fight back. I wore a Navy suit, one Sophia once said made me look authoritative, and told myself, this wasn't just a battle for the company, but for my family and my father's legacy. I arrived at the headquarters early, entering the boardroom on the top floor, where glass walls offered a stunning view of the Santa Cruz Mountains and glittering Silicon Valley. The long ebony table dominated the room, surrounded by 12 leather chairs for the board members. Claire Nguyen and Mark Thompson were already there, their eyes full of resolve. Olivia Bennett, our lawyer, sat beside me, holding a thick folder. My father, William, entered last, his black suit radiating authority. He nodded at me, his eyes saying, "You've got this." As the clock struck 9 a.m., Sophia and Ryan Pierce walked in. Sophia wore a gray business dress, her hair neatly up, her confident smile like an actor's on stage. Ryan, with his usual smugness, sat beside her. The board members, including Chairman Henry Sullivan, a longtime friend of my father, took their seats. Henry tapped his pen on the table, his voice deep. We're meeting today to address concerns about Caldwell Technologies leadership. Mrs. Caldwell, Mr. Pierce, please begin. Sophia stood, her voice smooth but sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pierce and I represent several board members concerned about Ethan's leadership. He's never been a CEO, and a $150 million company can't risk inexperience. I propose taking on the interim CEO role to ensure stability. Ryan nodded, adding, "We've spoken with major shareholders. They support this proposal." A few board members nodded, especially newer ones, like Ellen Harper, who seemed swayed by Sophia. Henry Sullivan looked at me. "Ethan, do you have a response?" I stood, taking a deep breath, feeling my father's gaze from across the table. "Ladies and gentlemen, I not only oppose this proposal, but have evidence that Mrs. Sophia Caldwell is plotting to harm the company." The room fell silent. Sophia smirked, but I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. I nodded to Olivia, who opened her laptop and projected a series of images onto the large screen. Sophia meeting Victor Hayes, CEO of NexGen Systems, at a hotel in San Jose. "This is evidence that Sophia met with our competitor," I said, my voice calm but resolute. "She promised to provide data from our new AI security project in exchange for a position on NexGen's board." Murmurs arose. Ryan Pierce paled, trying to interrupt. "This is slander. There's no solid proof." Olivia pressed a button, and a recording played. Sophia's voice was clear. "Ethan isn't fit to lead. I'll ensure the board removes him. NexGen can buy Caldwell for cheap." Ellen Harper gasped, and Henry Sullivan frowned. Sophia shot to her feet. "That recording is fake. Ethan's trying to smear me." But I wasn't done. "Claire, do you have anything to add?" I asked. Claire stood, her voice sharp. "Sophia accessed internal databases without permission. The documents she took were fake, planted by us to trap her. If NexGen uses them, they'll lose millions." Mark Thompson chimed in. "Sophia also requested transfers from company accounts to personal ones." I refused, as per Clause 23B, which requires Ethan and Mr. Williams' signatures for major transactions. The room turned to Sophia, eyes full of suspicion, but the decisive moment came when the boardroom door opened, and Lily walked in. She wore a hoodie, her gaze wavering but steady. "Lily," Sophia gasped, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Mom," Lily said, her voice choked. "But I can't let you hurt Dad and the company." She handed her phone to Olivia, who displayed a text from Sophia to Victor Hayes. "The board will vote today. I'll make sure Ethan's out." The room was stunned. Sophia stepped back, her face pale. "Lily, you don't understand. I did this for the family." But Lily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "You did it for yourself, not for us." Henry Sullivan tapped his pen, his voice stern. "I think we've seen enough. Clause 23B clearly states, Ethan owns 70% of the company, Mr. William holds 25%, and 5% is public shares. Mrs. Caldwell has no authority to make any major changes." He looked around the table. "I propose a vote to confirm Ethan Caldwell as permanent CEO and remove Mrs. Sophia Caldwell from all company roles. Any objections?" Not a single hand rose. Ryan Pierce bowed his head, and Sophia glared at me, her eyes blazing with anger. "This isn't over, Ethan," she hissed, then stormed out. I sank into my chair, feeling like I'd just finished a marathon. My father stood, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You did it, Ethan," he said, his voice warm and deep. Claire and Mark smiled, and Lily ran to hug me. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered. I hugged her tightly, relief flooding through me. "Thank you, Lily," I said, my voice hoarse. Olivia gathered her documents, nodding to me. "Well done, Ethan, but be prepared. Sophia won't give up easily." After the board meeting at Caldwell Technologies headquarters in Palo Alto, I felt like I'd just walked out of a storm. I had regained control of the company, exposed Sophia's plot before the entire board, and earned official recognition as CEO. But the victory wasn't complete. Sophia, my wife, had left the boardroom with the threat, "This isn't over," and Lily's pained look as she confronted her mother still haunted me. I knew the fight wasn't finished, not just for the company, but for my family and our reputation. The following days were a relentless series of challenges. Sophia didn't back down as I'd hoped. She contacted a tech newspaper in San Francisco, spreading rumors that I had slandered her to solidify my power, and that Caldwell Technologies was unstable due to family drama. Some major clients, sensitive to rumors, began questioning contracts. I called an all-hands meeting in the main auditorium, where large screens displayed AI data charts. Standing before the employees, I said, "I know you've heard the rumors, but I'm committed to ensuring Caldwell Technologies keeps growing, built on the values my father William established, innovation and integrity." I openly acknowledged the challenges but emphasized the plan to launch the new AI security product. The employees' response was initial silence, then a round of applause from veterans like Claire. I knew I'd earned a portion of their trust. At home in Menlo Park, I worked to mend my family. Lily became more open after the board meeting, but she was still hurt by her mother's betrayal. One evening, as I washed dishes after dinner, Lily stepped into the kitchen, her eyes hesitant. "Dad, "I'm sorry for believing Mom," she said, her voice choked. "I thought she wanted what was best for the company, but I was wrong." I dried my hands and hugged her tightly. "Lily, you weren't wrong to want to trust her, but sometimes, adults make big mistakes." I felt warmth as she hugged me back, a sign we were finding our way back to each other. Noah, my son, was a huge source of encouragement. He brought me a demo of an AI app he'd coded, excitedly asking, "Dad, can I test this at the company?" I laughed, ruffling his hair. "Sure, Noah, but it has to pass Claire's review first." His innocence reminded me that despite Sophia's damage to our family, I still had loved ones to protect. As for Sophia, she no longer had access to the company, but still tried to retaliate. She filed a lawsuit accusing me and my father of manipulating the board. Olivia Bennett, our lawyer, assured us the lawsuit wouldn't go far, thanks to the overwhelming evidence from Dad's Plan B. Meanwhile, Sophia faced a legal investigation for fraud related to her attempts to transfer company funds. I also began divorce proceedings, a painful but necessary decision. 18 years of marriage didn't end with a happy resolution, but with scars I was learning to accept. One evening I went to my father's mansion in Los Altos Hills for dinner. We sat in the dining room, the chandelier casting light on the oak table where Dad had set out a roast he'd made himself. "Ethan," he said, raising a glass of wine, "you've made me proud. Not because you beat Sophia, but because you stood up when things were toughest." I smiled but asked, "Dad, how did you know Sophia would betray us? When did you prepare?" He laughed, his eyes twinkling. "Son, building this company taught me that trust must come with caution. I saw ambition in Sophia's eyes long ago, and I never hand over my legacy without a safety net." We talked about the future. The new AI security product launched soon after, exceeding revenue forecasts by 25%, pushing the company's stock to new highs. I'd driven a bold marketing campaign, something Dad had once hesitated on, but he admitted it worked. "You're doing things your way," he said, his voice full of pride. "That's what I wanted." I nodded, feeling a confidence I'd never had before. 6 months after the fateful board meeting at Caldwell Technologies headquarters in Palo Alto, I, Ethan Caldwell, had truly settled into the CEO's chair. Silicon Valley still shone with tech lights, but I no longer felt like an outsider. I'd grown through the storm named Sophia, learning to lead not just with my mind but with my heart. The company, my family and I, all had changed, and I knew I was at the start of a new journey. I hosted a party at our Menlo Park home to thank those who stood by me in the darkest days. The backyard was adorned with twinkling string lights, the long table laden with food, from barbecue to vegetable salads. My father William sat at the head, his silver hair glowing under the lights, a proud smile never leaving his face. Claire Nguyen and Mark Thompson, my loyal allies, laughed and chatted about the new AI security project, now the company's flagship product. Lily and Noah, my kids, ran around, bringing life to the evening. Lily, now more open, helped me set the table, while Noah excitedly told Claire about an AI app he was developing. As everyone raised their wine glasses, I stood, warmth spreading through me. "Thank you all," I began, my voice slightly shaky with emotion. 6 months ago, I wasn't sure I could overcome the challenge. But thanks to Dad, Claire, Mark, and especially Lily and Noah, I not only protected Caldwell Technologies but found my purpose. I looked at my father, who nodded slightly. "And I'd like to toast to Ethan," he said, standing, his voice deep and resonant. "Not because you're my son, but because you've proven yourself a leader in your own way." The table erupted in applause, and my eyes stung. Caldwell Technologies was thriving. The AI security product not only exceeded revenue forecasts but also attracted international contracts, expanding the company into Asian and European markets. I launched a new strategy, heavy investment in sustainable AI research, and a STEM scholarship fund for underprivileged students in Silicon Valley. "Technology must improve lives," I told my team in a meeting, echoing my father's teachings. Claire, now a close advisor, smiled. "William built a great company, but I think you'll make it even greater." My family was healing too. Lily decided to intern at the company over the summer, working under Claire's guidance. "I want to learn how you and Grandpa built things," she said, her eyes bright. Noah, passionate about coding, started taking AI classes sponsored by the company. Evenings, we ate together, laughed, and slowly erased the scars Sophia left. Sophia, after the divorce, left Silicon Valley, facing fraud charges. I no longer resented her. She was a victim of ambition, as Dad once said. But I knew I had to move forward, for Lily, Noah, and myself. I nodded, feeling the weight and joy of my new responsibility. Caldwell Technologies wasn't just my father's legacy. It was my chance to shape the future. I knew I'd make mistakes, face new challenges, but I was no longer afraid. Sophia had unwittingly taught me I was stronger than I thought, and my father gave me the chance to prove it. As he left, I stood alone, gazing at Silicon Valley, where tech dreams became reality. I knew I belonged here, doing what I was born to do. The story of Ethan Caldwell and my dad handed me his 150 mm taller, but my wife seized control. Then dad made his move, reflects real challenges in the US. Today, especially in Silicon Valley, where fierce tech competition intertwines with family pressures. Ethan, a 45-year-old man, faces betrayal from his wife, Sophia, who plots to seize control of Caldwell Technologies, and the temporary estrangement of his daughter, Lily. These details mirror common U.S. issues: marital strain from personal ambition, like Sophia's drive for power, leadership pressure in high-stakes tech environments, where Ethan must prove himself to employees and clients, and generational conflict, as Lily is manipulated before siding with her father. The 2025 Silicon Valley setting, with AI companies like Caldwell Technologies and NexGen Systems, highlights intense competition and corporate espionage risks, realities faced by American firms like Google or Apple. In life, trust must be paired with caution, and resilience is built through facing betrayal. Ethan learns this through his father William's Plan B, with Clause 23B safeguarding the company, and by reconnecting with Lily by showing her the truth. Americans today, especially in high-pressure workplaces, can apply this by building transparent relationships, like Ethan's with Claire and Mark, and always having a backup plan as William did. The story also reminds us that family, like Ethan, Lily and Noah, is the foundation for overcoming crises, encouraging open communication and forgiveness, even when trust is wounded. Subscribe to the channel to follow my journey protecting my legacy and family at Caldwell Technologies. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video with new lessons from Silicon Valley.